All right. So, hey, gang, last time we were together, we talked about winning. We talked about the traits of a winner. Today, we're going to talk about making. And by that, I mean making more money. And it doesn't just mean go lead generate. I'm not talking about go make money in the sense of just lead generate. I'm going to talk about what to do with your money. I'm going to talk about opportunities for you in money. We're going to take just about an hour to get that done here. And then a month from now, John Mark, we're talking about giving, right? We're going to be talking about finishing the Win, Make, Give series, where we'll be talking about giving and how every single one of you can give, even if you don't have the money to do so. I'm going to show you the 5 or 7 ways to give. So we'll be talking about that a month from now, and hopefully you'll join us. And remember, when you do, I'm going to yell at you when I don't see your camera. Debbie, Mary, Ryan, Clifton, Angela, AD, right? I'm doing this thing again where I'm just seeing pictures. All right. So let's make sure we're there. Folks, the chat window is available to you. Make sure that you chat. Let me know with a simple yes or no. For those of you not driving, in the chat window right now, did you join me for Win? If you're here for Win, give me a yes. If you were not here for Win, that's okay. I'm not going to be angry at you. Just give me a no. It's more me just making sure that you understand how the chat window works. As I go through this, if you have any questions you want to ask, aha, I see some of you typing that I can't see your pictures. So I know you're there. If you are in a position where you want to ask something during the call today, instead of chiming in and attempting to all speak at the same time or whatever, just type it in. I'm pretty good at keeping my eye on the chat window as we go. Let's talk about wealth. Let's talk about making. Let's make sure you got something to take notes on. Everybody's got something to take notes on, right? You can just nod your head that you have something to take notes on. Good. All right. Looks like Dawn's got a pen and a wall behind her, so she's good to go, right? Excellent. Folks, what I want you to know is that only 11% of people choose having lots of money as their definition of wealth. So what I want you to start with right now is, what does wealth mean to you? Write it down. What does wealth mean to you? 11% of people choose having lots of money is their definition of wealth. Give me yours. Once you've written it out, I'm going to challenge you to take a second and type it in the chat box also, so we can share a few of them. Happiness, friends, and vacations. That's wealth to Mary. Love it. To Jim, it's going to be good seats at the dogs games, right? Right. No debt, says Shelly. Okay. What is wealth to you? Wealth is getting to the point where your money works for you, Clifton says. Maintaining current lifestyle and not having to work. Taking care of my family, being able to do what I want, when I want, with whom I want. Jim, the only thing you missed was where you want, right? Because that's my definition too. Long-term comfort with life expenses, balance. Oh, balance is a bad word. Okay. Wealth means a lot of things to a lot of people. And what we're going to talk about today is creating wealth, making wealth for you, and focusing on money. There are 5 reasons we believe you need to make more money. 5 reasons you need to make more money. And some of you are sitting there going, I don't need to make more money. I'm doing good. Yeah, there's 5 reasons you need to make more money. And the number 1 reason is the one we always need to make more money, and that is life happens. Okay, reason number 1 to make more money is life happens. None of us know what's coming tomorrow. Right? Friend of mine, one of my coaching clients, messaged me this morning. He said to me, I have to miss my coaching call this week. I said, there better be a really good reason. He said, my sister-in-law just had a stroke. Right? She's stuttering, memory challenges right now. She's not even able to walk at this moment. We probably have to go take care of the kids. We've got to help figure something out for her. What's going on, right? Wealth. If you don't have the money, you can't handle that situation when it pops up. And God forbid it happens to anybody that we love and we care about, yet it could. Car accidents sadly happen all the time. Life happens. We always need more money. When someone gives me the definition of wealth is financial freedom, I always ask them, what does that mean? Because we never know, right? Even those of you who said having enough money to cover my expenses, what happens if tomorrow your expenses changed? Or what happens tomorrow if all of a sudden everything changed in your world because of an illness or something that happened to somebody? So number one, life happens. I'm not meaning to be a downer. I'm just being honest. Number two, opportunities occur. Would you agree right now that houses have gone up in value? That's just a simple head nod, right? And that's a stupid head nod. You don't even have to like look. Yeah, absolutely, right? Houses have gone up in value. Think back on the listing appointment you were on 6 or 8 months ago. How many of you wished you could have bought it knowing what you know now? Right? Think about the listing you're going on today. How many of you would like to be able to buy it knowing what you know now, knowing what might still be coming? It's an opportunity. You never know when they're going to strike. What would happen if on this call I said, hey, I'm thinking about launching this new company and I need 4 investors who each have $2,000 that want to get in on it? It's an opportunity. Some of you would be like, I don't even got it. And some of you would be like, yeah, here, take my money. What? If you're going to make it happen, it'll happen. Right? What happens if Gene Rawls came to you guys and said, I'm opening a new market center and anybody who wants to invest can. Here's what it costs to buy in. Right? Opportunities, you never know when they're going to show up. And we want to always be able to take advantage of them if and when they do. So we need the money to be able to do that. Number 3, leverage. Leverage is a way to buy happiness. How about all that stuff you don't want to do? Right? You're all in real estate. There's nothing worse than transaction coordination stuff. Oh my God, right? I want to rip my hair out. Right? That's why I don't have any hair. Okay. So it drives me absolutely nuts. And when you're on your first deal and you're broke, guess what? You get to do all your transaction coordination stuff. It's not until you start making some money and get smarter that you have money to pay leverage to hire a TC. Now that might be outsourcing it and it might be actually hiring somebody for your team. There is nothing worse than cleaning the house top to bottom. Nobody, I can't say that. My wife loves doing it, right? There are very few people who enjoy cleaning a house top to bottom. You got to have money to be able to have that leverage to have someone else do it. Boy, there are some things that have changed in our world, like grocery stores, right? Instacart has become massive for so many people. You might never go back to the grocery store again yourself, but you have to have the money to be able to make that happen. You have to be able to afford leverage to buy back time and buy you your happiness. That's reason 3. Reason 4, to create a legacy. You might want people to remember that you were here after you're gone. And that doesn't mean you have to have a statue out front of the stadium. That doesn't mean that you have to be somebody massive that makes a huge impact. It could be somebody who makes an impact in your community. It could be somebody who makes an impact in your family, right? Have you ever heard the term generational wealth, right? Everybody remembers grandma and grandpa when they created generational wealth and the kids have it easier because of what grandma and grandpa did. A legacy was created. Maybe there's a fund that's named after you that's a very small fund every year that you're funding. Okay, a legacy is created. And the 5th reason is to create memories, because we can't take anything with us, as we all know, but we can have our memories. Things are just things. Memories are within you forever. We were just on an art auction just the other day to raise some money that Ben Kinney was doing. And my wife looked at a piece and it really triggered a memory for her. She said, I'd like that piece. So we bid on the piece and then someone outbid us. And I said, no one's going to outbid me. Right. And then we bid again and somebody kept outbidding me and they were just doing it because they knew it was me. So they were being difficult. But then my wife finally said to me, you know what? I don't want the piece that much. I said, yes, you do, honey. You said it brought back this memory. She goes, I always have the memory. I don't need the picture for it. The memory is with me forever. And it's money that created that memory for her. It was being able to go on a trip she was able to go on that created that memory for her. So the 5 reasons: life happens, opportunities occur, leverage, creating legacy, and creating memories. These are the reasons you never have enough money and why we always need to make more. Okay. So I'm going to take you through some of the things. Someone said, and I'm not going to scroll back, so I don't remember who it was. They said wealth was being debt free. And my gosh, it's the greatest feeling in the world. I can tell you that from somebody who was once in debt. But what I want you to start with as we work on getting you there is I want you to make a list for me right now. I want you to just brain dump a list. That means don't think twice about it. Just let things out of your head of every required monthly expense. Required monthly expense. I want you to write down for me all of the required monthly expenses that you have in your life. You probably won't finish this list now. It's a start. Your mortgage or rent is required. You want a roof over your head, unless you're living with mom. Right? What are the other things that come with a house or your rent that you have to pay? Garbage, water, power, internet, cable. You need a cell bill or a cell phone, so there's a bill for it. Right? Maybe credit cards that you've rung up. Those are required monthly expenses now to pay those minimum required payments. Your car payments, car insurance, gas in your car, groceries because you got to eat, insurance, you might need insurance. You have a pet? Well, then it's required that you feed your pet. All right. You decided to take them on. Yes, you have a pet. I have a pet too, right? You decided to take them on. You are required to now have those expenses that come with it. Now, draw a line underneath those required expenses where you are on your list right now and stop. And I want you to brain dump just some optional expenses. What are those expenses that you like to have in your life, that you like to take care of in your world? They're not required. You don't have to have them. You don't have to buy a book every month to read. You just like to spend money on Amazon buying books. You don't have to go on trips. You just like to go on trips every quarter, every month, every year, whatever it is. Hobbies, entertainment, dining out. You don't have to dine out. That's a choice. It's optional. Subscriptions, charities, clothes, ladies, shoes, right? Your hair, it's optional. Some of you are saying, oh, it ain't optional. No. Yeah, it is. It's optional. I made a choice, right? This was my hair treatment. I said, forget it. I'm done with those things. Took it all off. Okay. I'm going to challenge you, not now. I'm going to challenge you tonight, this week, over the whole month. Pay attention to your required and your optional monthly expenses. We can't make money until we know what we have to spend first. Okay. Step 2, list all of your debt. Right? List all of your debt. Who do you owe money to? Now, some of these will have shown up in your required expenses, right? If you have a car loan, a required expense is paying your car loan. But I want you to have a separate list of, okay, I got a car loan. That's a debt. I have credit cards with this much balance on it. I owe this much in real estate. For some of you, sadly, it's I owe the IRS. Right? Stop being realtors. Realtors think that April 15th is National Extension Day, and then they just pray they have a closing big enough to pay the IRS bill before it comes due in October, and then they got to go through that loop again next year because you're not saving money off every closing. We'll come back to that. List your debt. Now, when it comes to debt, there are many schools of thought on how to eliminate debt. Dave Ramsey, very, very, very smart person. He says you just get rid of the smallest one first, then the next, then the next, then the next. That's the Dave Ramsey method. I slightly agree and slightly disagree. The one that hurts you the most is the one you get rid of first. House doesn't count. House is the exception to the rule. But look at your interest rates on your different credit cards. Don't worry about the balance. Which one's taking the most money from you because they're charging you a higher interest rate? That's the one to get rid of first. And you should be putting minimum payments to every debt you have, except the one that hurts you the most, where you should put as much money as you can every month.
Hey, Chad.
Yes, Nicole.
What about the one that hurts you the most, like psychologically, emotionally?
Nope.
Like, nope.
Nope.
Like
Nope.
someone's hounding you.
Nope.
No, not
I can ignore hounding. I can hide from hounding. You get rid of the one that's taking the most money from you every month, so you have more money to pay the other people. You pay everybody the minimum. I don't care if one is that person just got the best debt collector in the world chasing you. That's not the one that you're after if another one costs you more money. House doesn't count. Okay, if you got a bad interest rate, just go refinance it, but it should be a lot lower than any of your credit cards and things like that. Okay. So question here says, what's the value of your time? Because dining out may be optional, but spending time at the store, shopping and cooking might cost more than eating out. That's true. I'm not telling you not to eat out. It is optional. It costs you more in cash to eat out. Yes, time may be, but that probably is a whole other topic that we should be talking about, which is your time management and your use of time if you don't have time to make yourself a healthier meal. Because what's that going to cost you down the road when all of your dining out catches up to you? Okay. I went out to lunch the other day with my wife and someone else, and my wife and I ordered the same thing the other person did, and we split it, and we had a reasonable portion. The other person ate the whole thing. Right? What's that going to do in the long run health-wise to that person? Okay, next list I want you to write. I want you to brain dump all your income. Do you have a salary? Do you make money from your business? About how much? Do you make money from rents? Do you make money on investments that you've made, dividends that you get paid? Have you given out loans and you're getting back interest on it? Make a list of all of your income opportunities that you have so you can now look at what's going out by choice, what's going out because it's required, what things go out and are charging me money on their way out because they're debt, and what's coming in. And until you know these things, you will never progress. You won't make more if you don't know where you are. We call that a reality check. You got to know where you are to be able to figure out where you can go. Some of us don't have a lot of choices right now. Some of us have a lot of choices right now. Some of us have a few choices right now. When you do this reality check and analyze all of this, then you know what choices you have and which one's probably best for you. Because at the end of the race, there's something called retirement. Now, Bob Kalinsky, owner of the Southeast region there, Bob Kalinsky uses a different term. He never is going to retire. He uses the term rewire. And Bob has rewired. And the only thing I want you to understand is I don't care whether you full on retire and hang it all up and you're done, or whether you rewire, which means I'm doing something different, I'm changing whatever that's going to be. There's always going to be a change that we're going to come to where we say, I'm slowing down or doing something different. Okay. Money is something you've got to make just in case you don't die. Just think about that for a second. I remember people all the time saying, oh, I want to live until I'm 100. I was like, My expense plan runs out when I turn 80. I'm in trouble if I get to 80. I got no money left. Okay. Now I've reevaluated that, of course, as I get closer and closer to 80. But what I want you to understand is money is something you got to make just in case you don't die. Here's an interesting study. Boeing, the airplane people, they're up here in Washington State. They did a white paper. And here's what they found. Employees who retire at age 55 live on average to the age of 83. So that's almost 30 years they live after retirement. Those who retired at 65, on average, lived 18 months after retirement. You see, people who retired at 55 in the study that they did were people who financially planned to retire at age 55. And because of that, did not have the stresses, did not have the concerns, did not have the challenges that they were able to live to 83. But people who worked to 65, studies usually showed, worked it because they needed the money. They weren't prepared until they were forced to retire. And then died a year and a half later because they didn't have the money to keep going. Retirement matters. Okay, so I want you to pay attention to the plan that goes for it. The number, the magic number to remember for retirement is called the 4% rule. Write that down. The 4% rule. What this says is you could take 4% per year from your investment safely without running out of money for at least 30 years. So if you had $1 million in retirement savings, for example, 4% of that is $40,000. You could live on a $40,000 income for 30 years off that $1 million. Now, remember, by the time you get to retirement, hopefully a lot of your things are paid off too. Hopefully you're not going into retirement with big debt. Hopefully you're going into retirement, your house is paid down. Hopefully you're going, right? So $40,000 all of a sudden is the same as the $80,000 you were making because you don't have some of those expenses that come with it. Write down for me how old you're going to be when you retire. How old are you going to be when you retire? Write it down on your paper. I'm not going to ask. That's for you. Below that, write down how old you are today. Do the math. How many years do you have until retirement? And are you prepared? Okay. Now that we have that kind of laid out, we need to realize the first and best way to make money is save what we have. And I'm going to challenge you to save like crazy. First and foremost, all income that comes in as an independent contractor, 20 to 30% of it should go for taxes into another account somewhere, and you should ignore it. Gary Keller has always taught, live on 70% of your income. Bob Kalinske, yet again, I love this man. Bob Kalinske is definitely a Republican. Don't judge him. He's an amazing person, whether you agree or disagree with him. I'm not getting into political beliefs. He is conservative. Bob has said the only good liberal he's ever met is a liberal accountant. And what I want you to understand is you're better off putting 25 to 30% in savings and having your accountant say you only have to pay 20% after write-offs and you get to keep the money, than putting 20% aside and having your accountant say you owe 25% and you having to come up with money. Do your best to live on 70 to 75% of your income by locking away 25 to 30% right away into a different account for taxes. Then, of the money that is remaining, can you live by the 50, 25, 25 rule? That's the ultimate goal, the 50-25-25 rule on the money remaining. 50% should go to monthly expenses, the required ones. 25% should go to your optional expenses so you can enjoy your life. You can do things like dine out, go on trips, buy books, pay for Netflix. The other 25% that's left is for debt reduction, should you have any. Otherwise, it's future saving, investing, and donating. Wouldn't it be nice to know that you had a percentage of your income every month that you actually could donate so you don't feel badly when there's a charity opportunity you want to give to? And some of you are like, oh, I don't care about them. That's okay. The money can go to savings for the future, and maybe one day you will. And on our next call, we'll talk about that giving, and it won't just be money. Okay. It's the 50-25-25 rule. Now, if that doesn't work for you, can you live on the 80-10-10 rule? Right? Could you live in a position where 80% of it covers those expenses? 10% covers the optional expenses, which means you probably have less of them. And 10% gets to go towards debt reduction, saving, giving, investing. You might invest slower, but hey, you're putting money aside. Still investing. Figure out a number that works for you. 25 to 30% should go away immediately for taxes. If you got a great accountant, my accountant did a wonderful job. My accountant said to my wife this year, you owed X in taxes. My wife looked at our account and we had Z in taxes. So my wife paid X and the rest that was left over was our version of a tax refund. I didn't have to wait for the government to borrow my money and give it back to me. I just all of a sudden said, look how much money we have that we weren't planning on spending because our accountant did a good job. Then figure out what your rule will be. 70, 50, 25, 25, 80, 10, 10. I don't care if you got to go 95, 5. I don't care if you go 70, 20, 10. But figure out a monthly rule for you where you limit your required, therefore limit your optional, and always have money going towards additional debt reduction or future savings and investing. You want to make money, make it work for you. Let me give you the top 6 ways that we have come up with to help you save. 1, make a budget and follow it. People hate that word. I don't know how many people I coach that say to me, I don't want to make a budget. Budget sounds so mean. I said, good, make a spending plan. Oh, okay, I can do that. Right? It's the same thing. Okay. A budget is where you anticipate all of your money going for the next month. How much is coming in? How much is going out? Where is it going? The opposite of a budget is called a P&L, profit and loss statement. That's where we look back and say, where did the money go? If you don't have a budget, there's no reason to do a P&L because you didn't prepare for where the money was going. So what is a P&L going to tell you? That it went, but you don't know if it went properly. So number 1, make a budget and stick to it. I do. I had something I wanted to buy last 2 weeks ago and I couldn't buy it because I had hit my maximum budget spend for that month in that category. I had to wait for May to show up to be able to buy it for myself. Okay. Number 2, consolidate and eliminate all your debt. Debt is killing you. You want to use a credit card because you're going to justify it that I get points or I get this or I get that. Great. Pay it off. I'm not kidding you. When my wife and I go to the grocery store, Costco, out for a meal, whatever it is, we put it on the credit card. And on the drive home, she's paid the credit card already. The credit card is not there to borrow money. The credit card is there instead of the debit card just because we get the perks that come with it. So, okay. but it's paid immediately. Consolidate and eliminate your debt. Stop giving your money away at a penalty. Number 3, challenge yourself every month to cut expenses by 5%. At first, it's easier to do. Then it'll get really, really tight as you are to a point where you're like, I can't cut anything. Like we are living on bare minimum. Okay, can you turn the thermostat up 1 degree just to save that much on electricity next month? Can you eat one more meal at home, therefore cutting down your dining budget? 5% every month. Can you cut your expenses until you're to a point that you can't cut anymore? Number 4, stop collecting crap. Your Beanie Baby collection's doing you no good. Stop adding to it. All right? All those collections, all those knickknacks, they're not doing you anything. Stop collecting things. Start selling things. The only thing we collect is art because art can appreciate. You can be sure every now and then we say a prayer for an artist that passes away. It's like, yes, our art just went up in value. Okay? Yes.
And real estate.
And real estate, absolutely. Okay. Number 5, I already used this one. Eat in as often as possible. 1, it's healthier. 2, it's a lot cheaper. I made mussels for my wife for Mother's Day. That's what she wanted. I made some mussels at home. I went to the store. I bought the ingredients that I needed. The whole meal cost me $14 and some time to make. If I had gone to the store and had 2 pounds of mussels and a bottle of wine for dinner, it would have been a $100 meal. Eat in. And the number 1, it's number 6 on the list, but it's the number 1 rule. Anything you put in your Amazon cart must sit there 48 hours before you buy it. I know, John Mark, it'll kill you. But anything that goes in your Amazon cart has to sit there for 48 hours before you can buy it. 90% of the stuff we buy on Amazon is impulse purchase. Put it in your cart, come back 48 hours, see if you still want it. The only exception to the rule is if you order your dog food through Amazon and stuff, right? You need that. That's a required and you're just using them for travel. Okay. 6 areas. Make a budget and stick to it. Consolidate and eliminate your debt. 5% every month, cut your expenses. Stop collecting things and start selling them. Eat in instead of out often. And 48 hours on Amazon purchases. Okay? You have to understand wealth. You have to understand money. And Albert Einstein said this: compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. Okay, let me say that again. Compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. He who understands it earns it. He who doesn't pays it. Now, I'm not going to give you the scientific math, blah, blah, blah of compound interest. But I want you to understand a simple example, and I'm going to pick on some friends of mine that are here, right? I'm going to pick on Jim, I'm going to pick on John Mark, and I'm going to pick on Nicole. Okay? Now, Jim is a good man here. When he was 25 years old, when he was young and all that, he put aside $1,000 a month for 10 years. $120,000. He put aside $1,000 every month for 10 years. Okay? He was 25. What does that mean? It means Jim probably didn't have as much crazy fun in his young years. He probably wasn't going out as often with his friends. He probably wasn't doing stupid things like buying sports car that he didn't need at that time. He probably wasn't spending money on a lot of stupid things, but he put $1,000 a month for every month for 10 years, totaling $120,000. And then he stopped investing. Okay. Nicole, she had fun in her 20s. She was partying a little bit in her 20s. Whoop, whoop, right? It was a good time back then.
Why you gotta call me out like that?
Quiet down,
you. Call me out like that?
Quiet down now. You were partying in your 20s. When you got to 35, you met me and I said, stop that crap. And for the next 10 years, you put $1,000 a month into an interest saving, into an account. So Jim, you went from 25 to 35. Nicole went from 35 to 45, did the exact same $120,000. Okay. Now, John Mark just thought money was just going to keep coming. He was having a great time in his 20s. He was having a great time in his 30s. He started having twins and kids and all this stuff. And he was like, I'm just spending all my money, spending all my money, spending all my money. And then 45 showed up and he got a wake up call and went, oh crap, retirement's not too far away. I got to do something about this. And he decided at 45 that he was going to start saving money. And he put $1,000 away every month for 10 years. So all three of them did $120,000. All three of them managed to find a 7% rate. We're just going to use that number, just to have an easy number, and it's a fair number. 7% rate. They all did $120,000. They all did $1,000 a month for 10 years. Jim just started at 25. Nicole started at 35. John Mark started at 45. Now, they all left the money there until they were 65 and they needed it. Now, John Mark, you waited a while. You're going to walk away with $349,000. He took his $120,000, folks, and he turned it into $300 and almost $50,000. Almost tripled his money. Good job, John Mark. Enjoy that in your retirement and rewirement time. Hope you also enjoyed your 20s and your 30s. Nicole, you enjoyed your 20s, and then you got smart. And now when you're 65, same investment as John Mark, yet you have over $750,000. You more than doubled what John Mark has just by starting 10 years earlier on the same investment. Now, folks, I think you can probably guess, because Jim started early, saved in his 20s, saved in his early 30s. Then he started to live his life. But when he turned 65, having invested nothing different than the other two, he has over $1.5 million. Boom, you're right. That's the power of compound interest. That's letting your money work for you. Okay? We need to understand that when it comes to compound interest, depending on the rate of return we're getting, okay, it's going to be different, but it's always the rule of 72. So we had the 4% rule when it came to retirement. I want you to understand the rule of 72 when it comes down to compound interest. And what it means is it's the years to require to double your investment. 72 divided by the interest rate. That's how long it'll take for you to double your initial investment. You take 72 and you divide it by the interest rate. So for example, if the interest rate you got was 7.2%, it would take you 10 years to double your initial investment. If you got only 1%, it's going to take you 72 years to double that investment. It's going to take you a while. If you got 72% on your money, God bless you and tell me where you're investing. But if you got 72% on your money, it's going to take you 1 year to double that investment. So now you can have an idea of how long it's going to take you to double. Well, let me tell you this. The S&P index average over the last 90 years has been 9.8%. That means almost every 7 years it would double. Just put the money in it. Now, for those of you who are on camera, raise your hand if you have a child, teen or younger, in their teens or younger. Imagine putting money in the S&P index right now, knowing that every 7 years, whatever you've put in there will double. What will that look like for them when they become college graduates and start in the life and you can hand them the money? What would that look like when they start a family and are going to go buy a house? What would that look like? The average interest rate earned, charged over the last 50 years is 8.2%. Real estate appreciation is between 4 to 5%, as we know every year. Is this year a little different? Yes. But what does that mean? We've got some slow years will be coming up to bring the average back to where it is. Your savings account in your bank gets you nothing. The higher the interest rate, obviously, the quicker that return comes. All right. So now that we have a basis, I want you to write these questions down. I'm going to give you some questions I want you to write down. They're going to be homework questions for you. Question 1, what can I do right now to increase my income? What can I do right now to increase my income? The more income you have, the more we can get out of debt, the more we can put aside, the more we can everything. Number 2, what can I do over the next 12 months to increase my income? What can I do right now? What can I do over the next 12 months? What can I do long term to increase my income? Now, here's the thing. While you've been writing those 3 questions, you knew the answer to the first one, maybe even the first 2. But I'm going to challenge you to take the time and do the homework. What can I do right now to increase my income? What can I do this year, next 12 months to increase my income? What can I do long term to increase my income? So let's talk about some ways you could create some more income. 1, profit share. Sure. I'm not here teaching you how to profit share. There are enough classes at Keller Williams that'll talk about it, but profit share is a thing. You can increase your income. Add 1 person to your downline in the next 6 weeks. Could you increase your income? Yes. Number 2, can you own any rentals? Can you pick up a long-term or short-term rental opportunity? 3, can you make investments that pay you monthly? There are some dividends and other things that are out there that can pay you back monthly on your investment. What about multi-level marketing? I'm not a fan, I'm not promoting, but it's an opportunity. Could you get into a multi-level marketing organization that promotes something, sells something that you could use? Could you teach classes on something that you're an expert in? Maybe that's a cooking class. Maybe that's knitting. Maybe that's, I don't know what it is. But there's something you might be able to teach a class on and get paid for. Can you create what we call B products? Now, the number 1 B product in the world was the lumber industry. There's a story, and I still can't remember what book it is, and I got to go look, where the lumber industry realized they could make a fortune selling sawdust. They were creating it anyway. They didn't have to do any extra work. But look around your house. You probably have something from IKEA. That's just pressed cardboard or pressed sawdust. Right? They made a fortune with their B product. So what's that B product you can make? What is something you're already doing anyway? Figure out other sources of incomes that you can make. Then when you get to this point, I want you to set up your investing strategy. I want you to look at your budget and I want you to realize how much extra income you are making. That would be any income that's not going out to a required or an optional expense or to clear a debt. Then you should be building a strategy. And whether it's $100, whether it's $1,000, whether it's $10,000 you're bringing in, what's the strategy that you don't think about every month that breaks that money down into departments? You should have a cash reserve department. You should have a future real estate department. You should probably have an opportunities department. You might have a financial instrument department. What do I mean by that? Stock market, 401 or IRA, things like that. And figure out your own investing strategy and how that breaks down. I don't care if you're 50% into this, 20% that, 10% that, but figure it out so every month you don't figure it out. And when a bucket or a filter hits its maximum, you cap it off. What do I mean by that? Okay, let's look at the cash reserves. My wife and I, for example, sat down, we did the math, we've done all this, and we know that it costs us, and I'm just going to use the number $10,000 to live every month. That's not the number. I'm just using it for easy math for you guys. Let's pretend it costs us $10,000 for required and optional expenses every month. We've already eliminated our debt, thankfully. Okay? My wife likes security. She likes stability and she likes safety. She's a high S, yes. Okay? My wife wants 1 year of our income, our lifestyle, safely squirreled away somewhere. She wants to know that tomorrow I could quit my job and for a year we wouldn't even notice. So she takes $10,000, she multiplies it by 12, she comes up with $120,000, and she says, okay, cash reserves, you have a maximum of $120,000. Can I get you there? And we put 50% of all the extra income went into the cash reserves folder. When it hit $120,000, she closed it off, put it aside, and said it's there. If the refrigerator needs to be replaced, she reaches into it, she takes some money out, she spends that money, she's got to refill it, get it back up to the $120,000 before she caps it off. Make sense? Same thing for our real estate bucket. We have a real estate folder, real estate bucket. Now that one has no cap on it. That one can be as full as we want. Lots of money in that one, hopefully. But I have a red line drawn on it that says when it reaches $40,000, I'll start looking at investments. So when that one hits, 20% of it went into there, just as a number, just to give you a number, right? 20% went there. When it hit $40,000, I start looking for investments. Doesn't mean we stop adding to it. I just have more options as it gets higher. Or if I spend $40,000, I'm still left with $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 in it, whatever was left over. But when it hits the red line, I have to look at starting to invest it. Same thing for my financial instruments. It's got a certain number. When it gets to a certain number, I go put it into the stock market if that's the right place at that time, or I go put it in my IRA if that's the right place at that time. Figure out a plan for where your money is going to go to work and stop thinking, because we always think, oh, next month will be better. I'll do it then. We always think, oh, I wish. Folks, there is no piece of real estate anywhere in Atlanta that someone doesn't wish they bought 10 years ago. Even at the height, before the crash, which I think hit you guys in like 2008. Even then, if you bought something at the height, the worst day possible, and it crashed on you the next day, today it's worth more than it was back then already. And you probably got renters in it all this time. So they were helping pay for it and maybe even cash flow it. And now you could sell it if you wanted, and you would get out of it positive. Here's a little lesson I want you to know from Gary Keller. Now, as real estate agents, you don't like this because you don't want Gary to tell this to everybody in the world. But I'm going to tell it to you. Never sell real estate. That's what Gary would tell you today. Now, if Gary told everybody out there never to sell real estate, we would have a hell of a time finding listings. It would be even harder than it is today if Gary told everyone to stop selling real estate. But Gary's telling you, stop selling real estate. Buy it and hold it forever. Pass it down to the next generation. Let it be cash flow. Let it be incredible asset in it. Let it be income that comes in every month. What would it look like if your young children, them or their grandchildren, grew up into a world where they owned 15 or 20 properties that were completely paid for, and every month they had them rented? Just think about that. If you bought a few properties and taught your kids to buy a few properties, and your grandchildren grew up, and when they turned 21, someone gave them 20 paid for properties, and they rented each one at only $1,000 a month, which would be ridiculous. That's $20,000 income they're making every month without doing a thing. That's creating legacy. That's creating wealth. And that's making a difference. You need a plan. Go figure out your current expenses. Go figure out your debt. Go figure out your plan to eliminate the debt. Go figure out your income. How could you increase it? Go put yourself on a savings plan. Use the steps and the strategies we gave you today for saving. And then put yourself on an investing plan once you get to a point that you have that extra income to be able to put towards that because you don't owe people anything. Now, I want you to take 10 seconds and I want you to think about what we just talked about. Then I want you to type into the chat box, for those of you able to, or write down on your notepad, what's the one thing you will actually take action on from this conversation? Let me know. If you want more of this, talking about making money, go to winmakegive.com/wealth. If you go to winmakegive.com/wealth, it will take you to our podcast series that we did about the 8 different things to know about wealth building. It'll also give you all the forms to fill out and follow through that we talk about on the podcast. So this was a surface. You want to go deeper? winmakegive.com/wealth. Check it out on the podcast. All right. So here's what I got so far. Create a budget. Create a budget. Find a way to cut expenses by 5%. Make it a goal to live on 70% of my income as soon as possible. Start saving 30% of all my income. That's for taxes, right? Cut monthly expenses by 5%. Here's the thing. It was great we spent the time together today. But if you don't take action, it was worthless. I don't want to hear ahas. I never want to hear ahas. I want to know what you're going to take action on. Okay. Last month, we did winning, traits of a winner. You can hear that on Win, Make, Give as well, the podcast. I believe we also recorded it, so you could probably get your hands on the recording. I'm getting the head nod. I don't know how they get it, but you can figure it out in your own office. We did this one, and next month we're going to come together and we're going to talk about how to give, and that's not always financial. So just because you might be somebody who's sitting there going, I don't even have the money to give, Chad. I'm up to my eyeballs in debt. You can give. I would challenge you to bring somebody with you to that call so they can be here and they can hear about how they can give as well. Because even if you can't give, maybe they can financially. And maybe that does make the difference. Until then, I'm Chad Hyams. You can find me on Facebook, Chad Hyams, Hyams, Hyams. You can email me, chadhyams@gmail.com. If there's anything I can do, anything I can tell you, any more that I can bring you from today, do not hesitate to reach out. Until next month, when I see you then. Bye, gang.
Thanks, Chad.
You got it.
Thank you.